Millennia, Paradox Interactive's first Civ-like 4X game, well published by them at least, has come to an end just over a year after release back in March 2024. In an update on Steam and the Paradox forums, former Millennia community manager Katin announces the release of Update 8, the final patch for the game. There will no longer be any updates or support for Millennia. And yes, I know they also published Warlock Master of the Arcane and its sequel years back, so yeah, it's technically not their first 4X, but when it was first announced, it was billed as an alternative to Civ, and it genuinely had some really cool ideas. So what about this latest update? Has it got anything that will get you back into the game? Well, not really, because Update 8 is really a sort of a let's close up all the loose ends and call it quits kind of a patch. It just fixes a few bugs and a few things that aren't working as intended. It's really an underwhelming patch really, with also fixes on localization issues. I guess it's still better than nothing for the existing players, which is like less than 100 people on Steam. Based on the SteamDB charts, Millennia never actually got much traction with strategy gamers or Civ fans. The launch had like over something like 8k players, and then the biggest spike was never any of its DLCs but a free weekend, which probably didn't boost sales as much. That free weekend couldn't save this game. The patch also has some additional things added to mod support, like now you can create your own age painting, which supposedly means some smart modder could add more types of weird and funky ages to the game and add custom age paintings to them. It's more of an immersion thing, yes. Now it all depends on modders to add new exciting content to the game. I've had a decent amount of time playing Millennia, and yes, the two things I like about it are the resource production buildings and crafting element. I think it's a lot simpler to understand than say Ara History Untold, which I'll probably go back to playing that game sometime. Then of course the different ages, especially the variant ages that allow you to take a fantasy or sci-fi route. Very awesome, maybe not as balanced, as I definitely felt it was a fun novelty to play through as a specific variant age for the first time at least. And I do believe for the majority of Millennia players, this lack of replayability, the feeling of, okay, I've experienced it, it was fun while it lasted, is why the game has failed to keep players hanging on to it. It's never about balance though, so I wouldn't put its failure purely on balance between ages, but the sum of all its other parts. The combat was definitely a common complaint between most people who played Millennia. Sure, it looks pretty atrocious, it's just a visualization that shows how the battle proceeds. There's no way you could actually make a difference in battle. It does look like a battle system from a game a few generations in the past. Yeah, not a great look. And to be clear, I'm not just talking about the look, which is also from a few generations ago. I certainly didn't like the whole point system, collecting XP when you take a specific action, then you could spend points to get a bonus in many different categories like a settler or spawning free military unit. Actually, settlers are only gained via these XP points, so you can't actually train them in your cities, which is unique. These points actually make it feel very gamey. I prefer a more organic way of how what you do affects or imparts a bonus on your faction. Actually, like how Civ 6 handled things, which was pretty good. To be honest, I don't even know what this new XP system is supposed to be solving or how it improves upon the 4X game formula, but it was definitely very easy to exploit this and overuse it to gain a huge advantage over the AIs. While the ages are cool, they aren't without problems too. The ages kinda push the whole game world to the age whoever enters that age first, so who gets first dibs on an age shifts the world to that age, which is understandable. I think I spoke about this in my thoughts video, that the game can't be running different types of games for different factions because ages are a major change that adds new mechanics. Even like the Age of Heroes adds quests for hero characters to take on. I mean, it sounds cool on paper, but the implementation is pretty boring and it's just going to a place and clicking a button. There were ways the age mechanics would also break in the game and just ruin the entire game along with it. Not to mention, the game lacked character, and I don't mean like people characters, but a lack of real identity and charm. Nations were just nations that got generic bonuses you picked. It didn't really matter what nations you picked, and diplomacy was as fun as watching paint dry. AIs were warmongers that settled near your cities and would be stubborn arses to accept you being diplomatic towards them. The list goes on. Even aesthetically, from the UI to the graphics, is worse than staring at a freshly painted wall. It's pretty drab. So has it improved over the year? Have they fixed or improved a lot of the criticism during the release of the game? Short answer, no. It's pretty much the same game bar the new mechanics added in the expansions, but the updates themselves have focused on balances, bug fixes and quality of life features. Generally, nothing that would make the game itself an improved experience. It's not like Ara History Untold's 2.0 update, which I really need to try out that frankly. Speaking about the DLCs, it's only gotten 2, which in Paradox tradition is very little. The first one, Ancient Worlds, adds the ability to explore the map as ancient nomads before settling your city, a la humankind. So Millennia at launch didn't let you settle your first city, you just started with it, which if you're a min-maxer would be pretty frustrating, but really I felt it was fine. The second DLC, Atomic Ambitions, added nuclear-themed ages like the Age of Atom, which was a Fallout-like world, with retro-futuristic tech, if a post-apocalyptic event didn't happen. But if it did, you'll enter the Age of Wasteland, Crisis Age. First DLC for the early era and the second DLC was for the late game. And none of these would change your mind if you didn't like Millennia from the very beginning. No mechanics rework was ever done, which is unfortunate really. It's as if Paradox didn't want to provide resources for a major rework of the game, which would have been advantageous for the game and the developers. But my guess is Paradox kinda knew they didn't seem a future, they didn't see like the game had a future, and they were more concerned with protecting their own bottom line and saw that really wasn't much of a future for Millennia with such low player counts, and considered it to be just adequate to work on content that was promised from the launch of the game. Just fulfilling obligations, nothing to truly improve Millennia. It's time to move on, nothing to see here folks. The question is, how is the modding scene? You see, the funny thing about a modding scene, it's also correlated to how big of an audience a game has. How big is the player base? And you guessed it, there are very few mods. The popular ones like Ultimate Timelines just lets you experience any of the ages without the requirements. It's basically unlocking the content of the game for people who just want to experience it without grinding out in the game. Most of these popular mods are UI improvements or focus on some gameplay mechanics. Nothing completely reworks things here or expands on it drastically. There is an Age of Beast mod that is in the works right now, but with the development of Millennia ending, who knows what's the fate of this mod? There just isn't enough people playing the game for modders to even care. Millennia is simply a game with a cool idea that has failed to implement that cool idea in a fun and engaging way successfully. It fails in multiple departments, maybe not a total failure, but more towards failing to be anything other than mediocre. So I need to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, have you played Millennia? Are you one of the 100 or so people playing the game right now today? What do you think of Millennia? Anyway, do check out my video that goes into a bit more detail on what I thought of Millennia at launch. Check out this video over here. Thanks for watching and farewell, noble friends.